What's going on, fellow nerds? Welcome back to a very, very special edition of the Comic Book Nerd Nation. This is going to be episode number 12. I'm phoxxtwo. Let me introduce you to everybody here. We got the Pirate.
Hey, guys.
We got Topher.
Hello, everybody.
We got the whole motherfucking Brian.
Too legit to quit.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I want to introduce a very special guest. He has agreed to be a guest on our podcast this week. He is the, correct me if I'm wrong, author and artist for the comic book strip JL8, which is a webcomic which is wildly popular, viral in some cases of some of the strips. And I'm going to let him introduce himself. You know what? Yale Stewart.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm Yale. I'm the creator, cartoonist, whatever you want to call it, of JL8. And I draw comics and put them on the internet.
I love it. He's down to earth guy. Like, I like comic books. I'm really good at drawing, so I put them and I do this thing with them and I put them out there for everybody. So we prepared,
and we're all like totally jealous because we can't do any of that.
Yeah, right. Right. Like we're all sitting back here, like, fuck, his life is so awesome.
Man, we wish we could draw comics and put them on the internet.
Damn, I wish I had his life. So okay, so I'll start out. My first question. We're just gonna take a couple questions. We're gonna go around, ask you a few questions and stuff, and if it gets to be a pain in the ass, just be like, you know what, this fucking sucks. Let's just shoot the shit, and we'll do that because that's totally cool too.
Let's just talk about My Little Pony instead.
Right. So my first question is, like, how did you progress from, like, I'm assuming that it all started when you were younger and you decided, like, you know, at some point you wanted to draw, you knew you were good at it, whatever, and you figured out that you wanted to be an artist. How did you get from that point to where you are now and doing the JL8 thing and just having the, I mean, massive following that you have on Facebook, 76,000 followers on Facebook? That's incredible. So how did it go from point A to point B?
That's a good question because it's just not a terribly exciting journey.
Really?
I mean, yeah, it all started when I was young. I mean, my first memories of doing any kind of artistic creation stuff start in preschool. And basically I just never really stopped drawing. I mean, it wasn't until maybe, I want to say first grade or second grade, because that was when I saw my first ever actual comic book.
Right.
Up until then, it was just a fascination with, like, cartoon characters and stuff.
Do you remember what comic it was?
I wish I knew. In fact, it might have been a bunch of comics, because basically what happened was, when I actually changed schools going into first grade, and one of the kids who became one of my closest friends, his name was Sean. He was the youngest of three brothers. I'm the oldest of three brothers. And anyway, since he was the youngest, both of his older brothers were way into comics. So he was exposed to that world or whatever. And I'm sure that one day he just brought, a couple issues of, like, Spider-Man and X-Men
Just
and
stole
stuff.
a couple out of his brother's closet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, he had his own subscriptions and stuff, which I was crazy envious about, because this is back when, like, the back of Marvel would have to, like, send like $20 for, like, a year's worth of comics.
Yeah, the mail-in subscription thing.
Yeah, which I was just, God, I wanted that so bad. But anyway,
who didn't? Shit.
Yeah, but so he brought those, and it was when I saw those that I realized, like, you could make a living doing this as, like, a job. Right. Yeah, well, because, cartoons, like, you kind of understand what it is, but there's still, like, a disconnect, especially when you're that young.
So much goes into it.
Yeah, like, you don't, like, you recognize that, like, it's drawings, but you don't understand what like how it
How
becomes
it
something.
moves, yeah, yeah.
Whereas like a comic book, you can look at it and be like, this is what I do, like at my kitchen table, just a lot more advanced. So
Somebody's
like
doing this, yeah.
yeah, so like you can see how like one person could do that as a profession.
So you knew from like a super young age then that like that not only was this like a thing, like you could make a living at this, but like you had an idea like from first grade, like you said, that this was something that you might want to do for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and granted, even though like I was saying, you can kind of see how a comic is sort of made, you at the same time you don't really know like what you have to do to become a professional
Yeah,
comic artist.
what the business end of it is.
Yeah, so like as far as I knew, it was like, well, I guess I'll just keep drawing stuff. Um, so I just continued to draw pretty much for from then on, and it wasn't until after high school when college became a thing that I decided, okay, well, I guess I'll actually go to art school, which I was, not terribly sold on as an idea. It just didn't seem super necessary. But also at this point, I was actually kind of coming back around into an interest in animation, because I've been doing comic stuff for so long. It's almost obviously both are incredibly important art forms, but when you've been doing comics, animation kind of seems like a natural evolution.
Right,
You know,
because of the technology and
it's
everything.
well, there's that, but it's also like, well, unfortunately, an animation audience is just going to be larger than a comic book one.
Yeah.
So, I was like, well, maybe I'll go to school and study animation, because if I ever, had like my own comic or something that was successful enough to be picked up as a cartoon, it would be cool to like understand what I'm doing. So I went to SCAD, starting in '06, graduated in 2010, and by the end of it, most of my friends were sequential majors, which is to say comic book guys, and that has sort of like reignited my interest in doing comics, and yeah, basically here we are.
And
Um,
that's how we got to where we stand now.
hmm
Nice. That's incredible that you knew that far back that was a passion of yours. That's incredible. I'm kind of jealous of you in that fact for sure.
So then, how did you
Yeah,
settle on Justice League? Was it were you drawing a bunch of stuff and that one just kind of took off, or did you say, I want to do a major project that I'm going to go public with, and this is going to be it?
no, not at all. Basically, what happened was in the like spring quarter of my senior year at SCAD, because every year they had in the spring what was called Editors Day, where they would bring down um, editors from the major publishing houses, Marvel, DC, Oni, Boom, Dark Horse, whatever, to do portfolio reviews. And I knew by that time that comics were something that I was more inclined to pursue after college. So I talked to some of my animation professors and basically let them, and this is why it's important to have a good relationship with your teachers in school, everybody, because like I talked to them, and I'm
Listen up,
sure
kids.
that, and I'm sure that like had I just been some kid who was like sitting at the back of the class, never engaging my professors, they would not have let me do this. But since they knew that like I took schooling and everything seriously and was serious about my career, I told them, I was like, hey, is there a way that I could basically just do comic work for my finals and stuff instead of animation? And they were cool enough to basically be like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Like if that's really what you want.
Even though you were in a comic animation, like or an animation major, they would still like whatever, just go ahead and
Yeah,
do it.
well, yeah, because I mean, I explained to them that I don't think animation is something I really want to pursue as a career, at least not in terms of like literal animation.
Right.
Like I'd be happy to go into animation as maybe like a storyboard guy or
Right.
character
Right.
development
Right.
guy.
Right.
And they were like, well, that seems reasonable because like our job is to try and get you a job, not whatever. So I started work on Gifted, which is a whole long story in and of itself. But basically, that was like my big, creator-owned pseudo-autobiographical comedy comic. And anyway, very long story short, because Gifted is autobiographical, there's a lot of stuff in it that requires like reference material. Because like I don't just have a bunch of like architectural photos of my high school laying around.
You don't? What? Are you kidding me?
I don't know.
Who doesn't have that?
Yeah, that was a part of
am
high
I that
school.
fucking weird or something? Like,
yeah.
Wow, I just met this dude and he is already telling me I'm fucking weird. I
Yeah.
like you. I like you. Yeah.
But you are.
Well,
Right, it's not really that hard.
You don't hide it well.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
But
So
go
anyway,
on.
I had moved back home to St. Louis from Savannah, Georgia, which is where SCAD is located. And the problem is when I was at SCAD, I sold my car because Savannah is such an incredibly small walking town. I didn't need one.
Right.
St. Louis is not. St. Louis, you
not at all.
do need a car.
Not unless you want to get
And basically, I'd finished work on Gifted to a point where I needed that reference material. Like I couldn't go forward without the reference material. And I didn't know when I was going to be able to go get it. So I was like, okay, well, I need to find something that I can do to draw in the meantime, because I don't want to just like sit on my hands and do nothing, because that's essentially how most people end up failing.
Now, when you say reference material, do you mean like you need to like see the physical buildings that you want to draw in person, or does like looking up a picture on the internet to reference, does that not good enough? Not give you that depth perception and that honesty, or what describe what I mean to those of us that are not at that anywhere remotely close to your artistic level?
Well, I mean, it depends. Like when it comes to something like your own high school, or a place that you used to visit, a place that you basically used to live in, I think you inherently have a knowledge of how much would be left out just doing like a Google search.
I see.
So like because you're so familiar with it, like you don't know exactly what it looks like in your head, but you know how much is missing. So I'd be like, oh well, yeah, I kind of know what that looks like, but like I can't find a photo of like this particular hallway or like this particular classroom.
I see.
And stuff. So yeah, like when it comes to places that like I've essentially been intimate with in a way, where I've spent like a lot of time and like kind of know the nooks and crannies of, generally I would go to that place by myself. Like obviously if I had to do a comic that took place largely involved with like the Empire State Building, I'm not going to book a flight to New York.
I mean, why not? I mean, that's totally seems.
I mean, granted, I might use it as an excuse to go visit my friends in New York, but I mean, most things, yeah, I could get away with just doing like a Google image search,
right? Okay.
Or something. But when it comes to something like your own, like the house that you grew up in.
Now, what was the title of this comic?
This is the thing called Gifted. Which is kind of like the elusive.
Or was it a?
No, this was something.
Or was this just like something that you created in and of yourself and never really...
Yeah, it was something I was basically going to like self-publish, maybe try and pitch to Image.
Where's it
or
at?
Whatever.
Have you not released it yet or anything? Or
I mean, I have, but I haven't. It's a really complicated thing. Like I did a 110-page graphic novel, basically like when I'd first gotten that.
I'm going to tell you right now, you've got an audience of 4 people right here that if you've got a PDF or something to this motherfucker and you want somebody to just look at it and appreciate it for what it is, I mean, hit me up. We'd be happy to read that thing and take a look at it and just appreciate it for what it is, for sure. But
well, it has a Facebook fan page. You could look it up on
shit.
Facebook.
Okay, well there you go. Let's do selfless pitch time. Facebook.com/ what is it?
It's probably Gifted LOL.
Gifted LOL. Okay, so look it up, guys. If you're watching this, You're obviously either a fan of Comic Book Nerd Nation or of Yale Stewart, probably Yale Stewart because he's got a way bigger following than we do. Yeah, check out Gifted if you haven't seen it yet. So back to what you were saying. Sorry to interrupt.
But no, Gifted was basically this, independent comic thing that I was going to do. And basically, I mean, the first thing that you do out of college, especially when you didn't go to school for comics, which isn't to say that's a whole other thing that I'm just not going to get into right now.
The first thing you do out of college is try and figure out how the fuck you're going to get out of debt. I know that. For me, that was how it was.
Well, yeah, but basically, I got the comic done. I posted on like DeviantArt or something, maybe like the first 48 pages, to essentially crickets. Like, I think I got maybe 2 or 3 favorites on all 48 pages or something, which was just like a massive,
just kind of demoralizing.
Oh yeah, and
After putting that much work
and this is also at the same time that my one of my best friends is getting his work picked up by Image and stuff like that, and
so
like
you're just
I'm
crushed at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, and like I'm sure Trad probably won't even watch this, but like it's not like I was like crazy jealous, but I like to think that I don't think that he sees me as competition, but I look at Trad as at least healthy competition. Like I want to try and pace the guy. But anyway, so
the best way to be great, in my opinion. I mean, this is, not to get away from you. In my opinion, growing up doing my YouTube channel, my podcasts, everything that I've ever done is, I've always thought the best way to be great is to imitate someone of greatness. So I think that is exactly what you're talking about here. Is you had a friend that you felt was ever so slightly better at drawing or whatever, artistic capabilities or whatever than you, and you wanted to kind of not necessarily imitate him, but try to compete with him. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good motivation.
Yeah. So anyway,
he's like, yeah, cool story, bro. Shut the fuck up.
No. But yeah, so Gifted did its whole thing, and I was kind of already sort of wanting to put it a little bit on the back burner and not approach it until I was better equipped to work on it. Because it is a story that
is important to you.
It is important to me, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, do you want to tackle something just to tackle it, or do you want to like hold off and make sure that when you do it, you actually do it right?
It's done right.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at with Gifted right now. In fact, I was actually just talking to Trad about it yesterday. But anyway, so I was hunting for something to do in this downtime, and I was working for my dad. My dad has a warehouse operation. I was working for him, working on the conveyor belt, which is
super exciting.
Just super, like if you want some time to just kind of like zone out and think, doing work on a conveyor belt is pretty.
That's where it's at, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty conducive to that. So out of nowhere, I just had this like mental image of a young Clark, like pushing kids on a swing set, but sort of overly, like not quite knowing his own strength, and like sending these kids flying. And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. Maybe there's sort of like something there. And then it's such a, because I don't really think that I can take much credit for the actual idea of JL8 because it's such an obvious one.
How does it work with the licensing and stuff? Like, do you have to?
I mean, because like the way I was looking at it was, as long as I'm just like putting this stuff online for free,
it's not a big deal.
I don't really see why there'd be any kind of problem with it, because like I've never tried to monetize it.
Right.
Like the closest thing I've ever done is I've done a couple prints for conventions and stuff, but I was looking at that as like, who doesn't make prints of Batman and Superman and stuff?
Right.
At shows, like like as long as I don't sell it online, and basically make like a shop for it, I think it should be.
But DC's giving you shit for what you're doing?
DC's never talked to me about it.
Really?
DC's never
That's good.
approached me at all, and you know,
Where's the wood at? Where's the wood?
It's okay. No one there is watching our podcast.
Yeah.
You're
You
fine.
don't have to worry. You don't
No,
have to worry.
well, no, and I mean that's kind of the thing is like I know that there are at least a handful of people over there who are aware of it.
Yeah, they have to be.
Beyond, I mean, I know that a lot of the creators there know about it. I mean, Scott's talked to me about it before.
Scott
Capullo's,
Snyder.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, I kind of like know Scott. He's like a friend of a friend because I'm really good friends with Justin Jordan, the writer for Luther Strode.
Wow.
And
okay.
he and Scott are kind of pals. That, and I'm also good friends with James Tynion IV, the writer of Talon and like the kind of co-writer on Batman. So, you know, Scott and I aren't too far
removed, right?
Yeah, so there's yeah, it's not like Scott like came down from the clouds and was like you.
I choose you.
Yeah.
Batmobile.
Like there have been. I've
Although
been
that
really
could be like
fortunate.
sweet comic strips.
Mhm.
Scott coming through the clouds, pointing at you.
Yeah, but
He's
but no,
"Yeah,
I've
that's
been
fucking
really
retarded."
fortunate. I've been really fortunate that a lot of the people on the creative side of DC do seem to think that JL8 is at least worthwhile.
It's fucking awesome. It's more than worthwhile. It's hilarious.
Well, thank you. So yeah, I don't really know.
So, all right.
What-
Well, let's Brian. You have a question? We'll shift gears.
Well, he answered my question, how he came up with the idea by sitting on a conveyor belt.
That's awesome. That was a good story.
I mean, we were talking before, and we liked the whole pitch of Darkseid being the gym teacher, and then Omega being the guys. But, I mean, obviously you enjoy doing what you're doing. Have you ever why did you choose, like, the Justice League as your little superhero team for JL8, putting them in the element of elementary school?
I mean, aside from the fact that that's just sort of how it sort of struck me, the thing about the Justice League that I think, and you got to remember that this all happened before the Avengers movie came out. This was probably in, I want to say, the summer of 2011, maybe, because it happened right around, I'm pretty sure that's right, because it happened right around my good friend Greg's wedding. And at the time, you know, so pretend that the Avengers movie didn't happen. You know, let's think about a world where that movie hasn't happened yet. The Justice League is just a group of characters that, for starters, are such strong archetypes, and they're characters who most people, whether they have like an intimate knowledge of the characters or not, at least kind of have like a passing familiarity with
they know
them.
Who they are.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Beyond that, I would say most people, because I mean, just from like going to Six Flags and stuff,
Yeah.
and you know, like the
Flash,
Justice
Green
League card,
Lantern.
You
yeah,
should know Flash and Green Lantern, yeah.
Right.
yeah, at least Flash and Green Lantern, and then you know, okay,
Maybe Jewel.
Martian Manhunter is,
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna have to kind of like lead people by the hand with him, but basically it just allows for a narrative shorthand, because since people have like these ingrained perceptions of like who Superman is, who Batman is, who Wonder Woman is, and they could at least maybe have a vague idea of who like the Flash would be, you don't really have to spend a bunch of time explaining to your audience their personalities. You can kind of just you can kind of just like hit the ground running. Now, granted, as time has gone on, I realize that technically you can do that with anything, and you know, people just kind of learn. You know, it almost like learning a new language. You know, you just learn by immersing yourself in it. Like, I'm pretty sure most people that saw the Avengers didn't see all the other interlocking films. they'd probably seen
all of us nerds did. But.
Well, true.
He's
But
like, well, yeah, I had you
like
back
I'm
for
sure a
that.
lot of them probably had only seen the Iron Man movies.
Yeah.
Maybe they'd seen Cap. Maybe they'd seen Thor. They probably hadn't seen all of them, so they didn't know exactly like who each of these characters was.
He's leaving the Hulk out.
Well, first of all, the Hulk movie came so much further before
I know.
all those, so I don't really consider those movies to be
I'm in the
part of-
rare. I'm in the rare group that is Hulk fans.
No, I mean Hulk's a great character.
If they didn't know, they would have been confused watching the Hulk movie and then be like, "Who's this Mark Ruffalo guy?"
Who's this asshole?
Yeah, also true. So, like the people that went and saw the Avengers, maybe they didn't know who Captain America was, but, you have so many strong context clues throughout the course of the... Because it's not like they brought Steve in cold. I mean, in the movie, he's Cap.
Well, he was frozen in ice, so they kind of did bring him in cold.
But,
just so you know,
was
everybody
awful. I'm
in
sorry.
this podcast is an
I
asshole.
apologize
Just
for
so
that.
everybody but you is an asshole in here.
but yeah, so, you obviously can make it work. And people can get acclimated to the characters. But I was approaching it as someone who hadn't done much writing before. I was like, okay, like this allows me to basically like skip the tutorial, and just get into jokes about brooding and games of tag among super speedsters and stuff like that.
I have a quick question before we get Pirate. I haven't forgot about you over there and your sweet
you're
mustache
fine.
and caddy hat. What of the JL8 characters? Which one is your favorite to draw? I'm just curious.
To draw,
Which
probably
one's your favorite to put in there?
When it comes to drawing, I'd probably say Diana. For a variety of reasons. First of all, I'm really happy with her design. And that's rare for me to openly say that I'm really happy with something that I've done, but
well, that's what makes a great artist is someone who's
pretty
not happy.
Yeah, but no, I'm proud of the design I came up with for Diana. And like she's kind of got it all from like a character design perspective, because she doesn't have a mask to like cover her face, so you can get a lot, like a broader range of emotion and stuff out of her. Like she has pupils to where like you can show that she's like side-eyeing somebody.
Fuck you, Batman! Fuck you!
Yeah. So that's nice. However, she's got like her hair is obviously super dark and super clumpy, so it's easy to color and stuff, because like with Hal and Karen, there's a lot of like just implied line, so it makes them more difficult to color, because I can't just like hit like a fill tool on that, because it'll just fill the whole page because there's nothing binding it.
Do you do all this on like Photoshop or something?
I color it all on Photoshop, but I draw it all on paper.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
But yeah, that, and I mean,
that's so fucking cool.
I like drawing.
I like how you gave her like the nice strong Greek jawline.
Well, thank you. That was something that I did. Obviously, I did it intentionally. Like, I remember like really early on in JL8, when I first started seeing stuff popping up on like message boards. I do remember seeing a couple people who weren't too thrilled about the Diana design, but I was really glad because a lot of people went to my defense on it and were just like, he made her look Greek. Like,
yeah.
What?
That was the first thing I thought.
And I mean, I'm glad that people. Basically, I was glad to hear that, because that let me know that like I did a good job of it.
Yeah.
Because I was afraid that people would be like, "Why does she look like that?" And I'd be like, "Cause she's Greek," and they'd be like, "No, that's not what a Greek person like that is not what a Greek person looks like at all."
Hit it at all.
Yeah.
So
but
good or bad, you know that they're reinforcing exactly what you were getting at.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So Pirate, I know you've been holding back.
Oh well, no, I think he's answered a lot of the question, or the main question I had as far as where he gets his ideas from and everything. But I really like the fact that you got Green Lantern, who's a Boy Scout, You have the Flash, who's like the hyperactive kid in class. You know,
Oh,
Darkseid as
ADHD
the
off the
gym
chart.
teacher. Yeah, Batman. The Batman is just gloomy, and he pulls a little net out of his belt. That was epic. But I mean, where do you draw, like, I mean, not draw, but where do you pull any of these ideas and concepts from, like, your own childhood, or like how you remember elementary school, especially with, Darkseid as the gym teacher? Did you have that, super huge, like, gym teacher that was just intimidating as a kid?
I mean, it's a mix of both personal experience and just also. I think I have at least a decent knowledge of what society sort of remembers childhood to be like. And you kind of want to like strike a balance between that stuff. Because no, like I never had like a crazy weird gym teacher before, but
Are you sure that they weren't wearing those shorts? Because
but
mine were wearing those shorts.
But it's like a strong enough trope to know that at least enough people have had it to where it's worth mentioning. Like to the point where more people must have had a weird, like really mean gym teacher than not. Otherwise, it wouldn't be such a pervasive theme in pop culture. And yeah, because literally, I was like sitting probably like 3 feet from where I'm sitting right now. I don't even remember what I was doing, but yeah, it just like popped in there that to make Darkseid the gym teacher. I remember texting like every one of my friends and just being like 2 words, Darkseid, coach or whatever, and everybody was just like, you got to go with that. So I took Darkseid and then I put him in the coach's outfits from Dazed and Confused.
That's fucking great. I fucking love it. Oh, that's probably one of my favorite fucking strips. I love that shit. And if you're watching this and you haven't seen that comic strip, I'm gonna post that to our Facebook profile, and I'll try and get them on Comic Related as well. But that is just fucking hysterical in my opinion.
No, I'm not gonna lie. That was definitely one of those moments where I was like, I think that this is a pretty good idea.
That's a winner.
So, yeah, because every once in a while you do have that one idea where you're just like, yeah,
fucking, I'm doing this. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. This is a winner.
Yeah, pretty much. And like if they can't appreciate this, and that's really their own fault.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was drawn there too. It was like, you know what, this would be an awesome tattoo, like of Darkseid as a gym teacher. You know what I mean? Like he's got the shorts, the polo shirt on. It's just wow.
I feel like
I'd probably hold off on that until he appires again.
No, fuck that. I think we can get a Kickstarter. I think we can get a Kickstarter right now for fucking
man.
Pirates.
It's such a trippy thing. Like people have had my stuff tattooed on them now. Like it's so weird.
That's awesome.
And I don't even know if I should like really say this, but I'm kind of just like, oh man. and this kind of goes back because my friend and I were talking a lot about just how as an artist, like you look back on old stuff and sometimes it just it's like a whole thing. And I'm just like, oh my god, like why did you get a tattoo of Bruce from like strip number 9? Like I didn't know how to draw at strip number 9.
Okay, so here's a question for you.
Like get one from strip 150, like get one from 148, like I don't know, just like not number 9. Like,
you don't want to be immortally known for number 9 is what you're saying.
I'd still think that would feel pretty cool as an artist though, to like, I mean it's basically permanent. A tribute that someone thought highly enough of your take on the character that they wanted to make it a permanent part of yourself.
I mean it's nothing but flattering.
I feel like that's either the greatest flattery or they were just really super drunk.
Okay,
yeah,
so I have something. I have a proposition for you, Yale.
Okay.
Myself, as well as Pirate, are both avid, I would say, tattoo collectors. Pirate, you want to go ahead and show me your just give him
Oh, I
a
gotta
little,
show this.
give him a little taste
Again?
Yeah, we showed it off in the other episode, but just yes, that does look like a wiener. It's not really a wiener, though, don't worry. It's a straight razor. The only one I have.
Yeah.
The only one I have.
We had this discussion.
The only one I have visible is. It's actually supposed to be Jack Frost, but it looks like the Jotunheim ice giants from the movie. But how would you feel about committing right now to another episode of Comic Book Nerd Nation if both myself and Pirate got a tattoo somewhere on our body of one of your characters?
Oh, fuck.
I don't think that you need to do that to have me back on. Like,
I would be willing to commit to that right now, and I will do it for Pirate as well.
Damn. Oh, he's doing it for me too.
Don't act like you're not in on this.
I mean, you could just ask me to come back on. I'll probably say yeah. I don't think
I
you
mean,
need
we
to.
probably will either way, but I'm just saying, like, I'd get that little Batman. I'd get the young Batman tattooed on me.
I mean, if you want to, feel free.
Oh, I will.
It is kind of weird. I mean, I certainly appreciate it.
No, I think
You know,
in all honesty,
I-
like in all like all fucking silliness aside and stuff, like you took characters that everybody has known and loved for years and years, generations, and taken them and simplified them, but not like oversimplified them to the fact that where they felt dumbed down, and related them to a time period that every person in the world can relate with. You know, everybody can relate to being 8 years old.
You took some of the most defining aspects of their personality and found a way to draw them out in a different situation that, like, it relates so well to the, like, you know, when I read it, I look at it, I'm like, oh my god, that's exactly what they would do as a kid, you know, because like it just fits their personalities so well, and it's crazy how well that lines up to certain archetypes of, you know, kids in a classroom setting.
What Chris is really trying to say is, are you single?
No,
No, I'm just fucking with you. But in all honesty, like, I don't want this whole. I don't want.
hey,
This whole
I'm not trying to
podcast-
tattoo myself with the guy's work.
I'm just saying, I like it. I like Batman. I'll throw down a Batman tattoo. But I don't want this whole podcast to be just like us fucking interrogating you and drilling you over the bench and shit. Like I want us to be, you know, a bunch of buddies that like comic books, hanging out and talking about comic books and shit. So let's talk for a minute about what we've been reading lately. Like what I'm assuming I'm making the assumption, Yale, that since you are a comic book artist, you are a fan of reading comic books. So what have you been reading lately?
Well, see, the problem the problem with
You're like,
that
well, fucking nothing.
is
You need time to read.
yeah, and it has been kind of difficult to find the time to make it to the shop lately. But that being said, I'm trying to think of like the stuff that I always do choose to go pick up when I do make it there. Obviously, Hawkeye. You can't.
Nice. Okay.
You kind of have to mention Hawkeye.
Or
Thor:
even-
God of Thunder,
Oh, I love Thor.
because
That's like one of the big pieces that I want. I have a shelf that I'm trying to build, like with like action figures and statues and different like comic book related type stuff, and one of the big things that I want to get is like a replica of Thor's hammer.
that would be
Like,
cool.
that would be.
I'm sure. I know they exist in varying degrees of quality.
Yeah, you can get them for.
Depends on how much you want to pay.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yeah,
can get it from
basically. I mean, it's the
almost
same as like
nothing.
Cap's Shield. I remember that there's one out there that's like, you know, $500 or something. That's like a straight up actual shield, as opposed to, you know, like a piece of plastic. But
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't need a real shield. Like,
yeah. Sex Criminals is really good.
Have you been reading that? I've read a lot of reviews on that and like heard that it's like fucking incredibly successful. That's the one where like when those two people have sex, they stop time, right? And like they can rob
Yeah.
banks and shit or whatever.
Yeah. I think I've read the first 4 issues.
How
I'm
is
pretty
it?
sure.
I mean, give us from an artist's comic book artist's perspective?
No,
How is it?
no, I mean, no, I like it quite a bit. I mean, it's usually at the top of my pile or at the bottom, depending on whether I want to like save the good stuff for last or
I got you. So that's one of your
whatever.
favorite new.
Oh yeah. No, it's definitely up there in terms of like books that I keep an eye out for when I go up. Anything that Mignola does, I'll pick up. Draws. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the BPRD and all that stuff, but I can take and leave some of that stuff. But I'll fight a person for the last copy of Hellboy in Hell. Anything, James?
Can I just like send you a camera and you could just film that or something?
Yeah.
I feel like that's YouTube gold.
I'll pick up anything that James Herron draws. So I missed his most recent BPRD issue because it came out when I was on vacation, but hopefully I'll be able to pick it up somewhere. I try and support all my friends, like Trads, like when the new Ghost Rider book comes out that Trad's working on, I'll pick that up. I wanted to pick up the new Ms. Marvel, the Pakistani one, because Sana, the editor, gave me one of my first ever portfolio reviews, and she's always been really supportive, so I want to help support her. That and I really like Adrienne Alphonse's art. I think it's a cool concept, so I'd like to pick that up.
How like are you're I take it from what you're saying, you're friends with a lot of people in the industry then, like you're
yeah, I mean, I get. I mean, well, I do a lot of conventions and stuff. It's kind of hard to not. I mean, it's a small industry, Like it's kind of one of those things that like when I first started like going to shows and whatnot, and like meeting all these people, I was like, oh my god. And then I just realized it's not that hard to know all these people. Like it's not, like. And again, like I do benefit from the fact that I've just come up around other people who've been more successful in terms of like mainstream stuff. Like the fact that Trad was so successful on Luther Strode to the point where like he's working for Marvel now.
So what's your thing right now that you're working on? Like, I know you. I mean, you mentioned to me before we were recording, at least, that this is your full-time gig. Comic strips, comics. That's your shit. Like that's how you're supporting yourself. How can we help you in directing our fans, the people that follow us, our friends and everybody, to like, hey, go check this shit out because this dude is for real. Like he's going to be the next guy. Where can we direct him? Like what is it that you're working on right now?
It's actually kind of an interesting question in terms of the direction thing. What I'm working on right now is I'm working on the last of a series of children's books that I was tapped to write and draw, which I'm not really sure how much about that I'm supposed to be talking about. Like I know I can say that, but I'm not really sure. And it's about this stuff.
Can't quite tell us the title yet or anything.
Yeah, although it was kind of leaked, so like people that have already seen the article know what I'm talking about. But I kind of talked to my editor about it the other day, and he was sort of like, yeah, like kind of keep it.
Okay, all right. I can
under wraps because like we're gonna put together a.
So maybe once this releases, we can get in touch with you and have you back on, and we can.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that you should probably be on the lookout for them sometime this summer. I think that's when they're supposed to finally like hit shelves. Right, I want to say like maybe in July or August.
Well, we'll have you back on, and we'll tell motherfuckers to buy that shit, or we'll hold them up at gunpoint or something.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But I mean, beyond that, because really most of the money that I'm able to make doing this is, I mean, the kids book thing. I mean, that was like a legitimate professional gig, so that paid well. But like I do, commission work, which I'm not accepting new commissions right now because I have so many commissions I still haven't even touched from like last year. But like that helps pay the bills, and like doing conventions, man, like just got to be a road warrior when you're in my position. Because I think I did like 12 shows last year or something like that, which
in the
was
Midwest this year.
I'll be at C2E2
Where's
in
that at?
April, Chicago. I'm doing Wizard World St. Louis here in St. Louis. I'll probably do Project Comic Con again, which is also in St. Louis.
Pirate Tover. It sounds like we're either going to Chicago or St. Louis to support this dude. I'm just roping you guys in right now. I'm just telling you right now, we're going.
Yeah,
man.
like
One of those
I mean,
I get roped in for a tattoo. What the hell?
That sucks for you, but
I mean,
shit
it
happens.
it sucks because I wish that there were more shows. Like I'll admit, I really would have loved to go to Planet Comic Con, the one in Kansas
Cincinnati
City.
Comic Expo coming up. Herb Trimpe is going to be here. Who else? Pirate.
George Perez.
George Perez is going to be here.
George is a good guy.
Yeah,
I've met George
heard,
a couple
I've heard
times.
I've heard good things about him, but another one, Derby City Comic Con in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
If you're interested, we happen
Oh,
to
yeah,
know the owner of the comic book convention. We can maybe get you in touch and see what happens.
Yeah, because Louisville's not terribly far.
It's about 5.5 hours, I think. 5-6
From
hours.
St. Louis.
Yeah, about that
No.
probably.
And over
Yeah.
here on the East Coast.
Yeah, probably. Because Lexington is like 4.
Yeah. Oh well, if it's 4 to Lexington, then it's probably
It's
only
even
about
closer,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
probably about 3.5 from.
Oh yeah, you're
3.5.
right. Because Lexington is
Louisville's
on
a
the
little
east
closer,
side.
yeah.
Louisville,
So-
Louisville's on the.
Well, we can talk about that after the show's over, but yeah,
But yes, so like doing shows, but in terms of like directing people, I mean, really, I think it's just I'd have to equate the success I've seen from just the Facebook page and Tumblr and stuff, and people liking and sharing the artwork, because it lets the people who are capable of giving people jobs, it lets them know that like people are responding to this stuff.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the public wants to see it.
Yeah, because I mean that's kind of the reason. Like, don't get me wrong, I really love having the Tumblr and stuff, but like, I do kind of like having the Facebook page because anybody can see how many likes the Facebook page has.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, that doesn't really matter to me in terms of like a braggart way, but it might mean something to an editor.
Right.
So that's the only reason that like I really like when people like the Facebook page is just because like I don't know if the Spider-Man group editor is going to see that and be like, oh well, shit, he's got 77,000
I mean,
people.
I don't understand. I mean, in all honesty, like with the popularity of it, and 76,000 people. I don't know, in the scheme of the comic book world, how much that means, but I would have to think that would almost be worth looking at and saying like, hey, is this worth making into a comic book? JL8, like, is this
Or a children's book?
Yeah, is this a viable option to make into like a children's book or a comic book, or I don't know. I don't know if you pitched that or not yet, or.
Well, boy, there are no easy answers with JL8 really, because like I actually was about to. I want to say in like the summer of 2012, and it sort of fell through because the editor who basically gave me the green light to pitch it ended up leaving DC like a month after I pitched it, and basically like I don't even know if he ever got around to seeing the pitch, so it kind of just fell through, and I haven't really like there have been some kind of talks since then, but nothing ever really materialized. So. And it's one of those things where like you never know how much to divulge because you never know how much like your fan base, like how your fan base is gonna like interpret anything.
Right.
So I've always been really reluctant to say like I've ever talked to DC about JL8 because I don't want anybody to like get their hopes up or something.
Right.
Although there are a lot of people who, okay, you guys are cool, and I think that you'll be able to appreciate this. Like, I'm not actually dogging on these fans because I understand that their heart is in the right place and I appreciate it. But man, when I see people, because like on the Facebook page, without fail, like twice a day, 3 times a day, 5 times a day, there will be people being like, man, why doesn't DC just give this guy a job? And without fail, there are people that are like, why would you want that to happen? Because DC's just gonna ruin it or something. And like, guys,
Wow.
What?
I
What the fuck?
no, like I know that your heart is in the right place. Like I understand
Yeah.
that it's
You love
a
it for what it is, but
yeah, it's an issue where you don't want to see this thing that you care about get defiled or messed up or whatever. And like I am totally down with that. I
why
totally
wouldn't you
appreciate
want
that.
the creator to fucking get paid for it? Fuck!
Exactly.
Come
It's kind of like God. Like I understand where you're
Motherfucker's
coming
gotta
from, but
eat.
like you don't understand that. Like to me, that reads as you don't care about the fact
Yeah.
that like I could make a career out of this. You just want me to be tied to my drawing table, producing this
Yeah,
stuff for
you
you
just
for
want me to
free
be
for
a
the rest of all
broke ass
time.
motherfucker for the rest of
Because
my
it's
life.
like
Fuck
don't you understand? Like dude, like don't you understand that I can't make a living on JL8, so I have to balance working on JL8 with going to conventions, doing kids books, doing commissions. If I were to get paid to do JL8,
So maybe that's an answer.
there'd
It's
be
like,
a lot more
yeah,
JL8.
If I got paid,
so
you
much
get
more
more JL8
JL8
to watch. Right. Like,
Yeah, like
oh,
how
man.
about instead of
Can you
8 strips a
imagine?
month, you'd have a 24-page comic a month? Like,
Can you
whoa!
Can you
Could
imagine,
you
though,
imagine?
growing up? I mean, can you imagine growing up as a kid? And this is a question not so much to Yale, but the other three of you that were comic book and cartoon fans growing up in the 80s and shit. Like, can you imagine growing up and having a cartoon to watch on Sundays that was fucking JL8? Like, the superheroes that you know and love, seeing on TV and the movies. I mean, now in this day and age, like seeing on TV, seeing on the movies, seeing everywhere, and it's a cartoon made specifically for you on Sundays to cater to you. It's 8-year-olds. Can you? I mean,
See, but the thing is, you say that now, and you forget the fact that when you're 8, you don't want
8-year-olds
shit
now-
to do with
that
anything that says
the
that it's
8-year-olds
rated.
now are retarded.
Because, like, God, I remember. Yeah, I mean, how many 8-year-olds did you know, like, when you were 8 that were like, man, if you watch Mr. Rogers, you're a pussy? You know? Like, whereas now it's like, oh man, like I love Mr. Rogers, and I think it's like the greatest show. And you're like, I get like scared to think like, oh my god, like what if it's not on the air, like when I had kids
Yeah,
and
you're
stuff.
gonna have.
But like,
you're
like
gonna have hate, but-
when you are a little kid, like there's nothing you want to be a part of less than something that has to do with kids, because that makes you feel like a baby. You know, it's like, oh well, that's for babies. Like you watch
Why watch
Dora the
JL8 when I can
Explorer,
watch
that's for
Teen Titans?
babies.
Shit, I don't give a shit
You
what
know,
the kids
like-
want. I'd watch a JL8 cartoon. I don't give a fuck about them.
No, I mean,
That shit would
like,
be.
I know
I think
plenty-
I honestly like. You know, I'm not trying to fucking, you know, like suck up to you or whatever, but like
No,
I
I know,
legitimately
man.
think that there would be a following for something like that. I mean, you have to think. Look at the world that we're in right now. Like, there's a fucking huge following to the point where there's a documentary on Netflix
about bronies.
Yeah, you already know what I'm talking about motherfuckers that are middle-aged men that like fucking little whatever.
When I saw that documentary on Netflix, that took me back, man. I was like, oh wow, like this is serious now. Like,
You know what I'm saying? Like that shit's for real.
Topher has a
so,
brony problem.
You know,
So-
I mean,
I gotta ask, you know, you've got Power Girl in there playing with some My Little Ponies, and you even have their names and everything in there. So I mean, have you watched the My Little Pony? I mean,
I'm
throwing a joke in there.
First of all,
or-
I appreciate that you actually ask instead of assume. Because, and like,
I'm hoping I didn't already offend him.
and no, like, you know, to all the bronies out there, man, like you do what you do.
Yeah,
I'm not judging or
everybody
anything,
is.
but
It's
like
okay.
me personally, I've never watched My Little Pony or anything like that. To me, it was a thing where I knew that My Little Ponies were becoming like a thing again, and I was basically just like, what would two
When was it
8-year-old
that you
girls?
realized that? Like when? I mean, this was relatively recently, wasn't it? This like whole fucking.
I think it's been probably since
been a thing
around
for a few years.
2010,
That
2011.
long.
Yeah, it's
just
been
didn't realize.
it's
Wow.
been a little while.
Wow.
You're out of
but
the
yeah,
loop.
I'm fucking
Yes.
old. Gray hairs in the beard.
So I was just sort of like, okay, well, you know, like what's a Easter eggs are fun.
Right.
Like why give them a generic toy when you could give them a toy that people would connect to and like have
Identify
something
with.
to, yeah. So I was like, okay, well, they're girls, and Karen particularly is like super girly girl, so like she'd want to be playing with pony toys. I was like, well, I could either give them generic pony toys, or I could give them My Little Pony toys, which I know people respond
Whoa,
to.
yeah.
So basically, and this is one of the benefits of like going to art college and stuff like that, is that a bunch of other people who are interested in a variety of other pop cultural things. So basically, I just put out the call, and I was like, do I have any friends who watch My Little Pony who could like give me like a basic rundown? Like, who do you think Karen would like respond to? Like, who do you think Diana would respond to? Like, which My Little Pony character like would they have a toy of? Same way as like if you thought back to your friends, it was like, oh, dude, you're totally a Storm Shadow. Oh, well, that guy is totally Duke. Or like, oh man,
now he's
like,
talking. Now he's hitting home. He's
like,
hitting
oh
home.
man,
Look
like
at Pirate.
this
Pirate's
guy,
grabbing the face like, motherfucker, I love you.
this guy,
Pirate might ask you to marry
like
him
this
right
guy,
now.
this guy's Roadblock. Like, quick disclaimer, I was not a huge, not that I didn't like G.I. Joe, but I was more of a Transformers and Ninja Turtles guy. Like
Ninja Turtles. Okay, wait. Favorite Ninja Turtles?
Leo,
Yes.
hands down, Leonardo.
Really?
Good shit.
Because I'm like, as a kid, it was Michelangelo, as I think
Everybody.
most kids
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
But then,
up,
as I got older, like I said, since I'm the oldest of three brothers, I just respond more to characters like Leonardo and like Cyclops and stuff,
yeah.
because I relate to that sort of like responsibility thing, I guess. Like, obviously, Raphael is awesome. Like, there's no,
He's a dick.
like, obviously Raph is super cool, but like I relate more to Leo because like I understand the whole like, oh, Raph kind of gets to Raph can like get away with being this like hothead because like he doesn't have any responsibilities, but like Leo has to like keep that in check because he's the leader, and like if he did it, he'd be setting a bad example. Anyway, so very long story short, no, I'm not a brony. It has nothing to do with not having anything against bronies. I've
It's
just
okay.
never.
We'll send you a T-shirt.
Yeah, there you go. But no, like it was just one of those things where like, if I'm gonna put something in the strip, I generally want to make sure that like I know
It's relatively accurate.
what it is. So I'm not just gonna like throw in, because accuracy leads to better responses from people.
Yeah.
Because yeah, if I gave Diana, I think one of the ponies' names is like Applejack or something. Like if I gave Diana Applejack, you'd have a bunch of people that are like, what the hell is Diana playing with an Applejack toy? Like Applejack is totally against everything that Diana believes in or something. Like I have no idea. Applejack could be totally what Diana believes. Like I don't know. But
Not to mention 76,000 followers. Like you don't have a fucking clue. Like you're gonna be just berated with hate.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it'd be the same thing as like having, the more intellectual kid not playing with the Donatello toy.
Right.
And granted, sometimes you would want to opt for a different toy because it might be like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge at like who the character is outside of like his surface.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
I got you.
So I won't ask any more questions about the children's book, since you said you probably shouldn't talk about it, even though there may or may not be an Amazon listing for it already. But Amazing Adventures of Superman. What? But anyway, so I heard a rumor somewhere else that you might be doing some artwork for an upcoming issue of Nova.
That already happened. That was back in November.
Oh, was that a while back?
Way to be late.
Way to
I know, right?
Fucking Topher.
Yeah,
dick.
that was for Nova number 100, which was actually just the current numbering number 10. Actually, I have a copy right here. Yeah, this one.
Oh.
It came out.
nice.
I want to say it came out in November because I was working on it on Halloween because they needed me to have it done in like a week after they contacted me about it. But no, it was just a 2-page little backup thing. I mean, obviously it
pretty
was
cool.
awesome to be in a Marvel comic.
In
Don't
a
get me
Marvel
wrong.
comic book,
Oh,
that's awesome.
dude.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
but yeah, that was a thing that did happen.
Well, hell yeah. Well, I think we're running out of time here, but I'm going to go ahead and sign out. If you guys haven't checked out JL8, make sure you check it out on Facebook. Just search it, JL8. Yale Stewart is his name. Fantastic guest. Thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Thank you.
I'm signing out.
thanks.
phoxxtwo. We got the Pirate,
See you guys.
Topher,
Bye.
Brian,
So long.
and our special guest, Yale.
Thanks for having me, guys.